All
Hey,
right.
Hey, fucking show must go on, man.
we thought we had our first actual event of a headliner walking out on us. That was
I just waited until that moment, and then I walk out like most like kind of dramatic as possible. No, that's all cool, guys. That's all cool. Okay, cookie. Right, I'm going to start with what's called rule shift. It's from sign language, and sign language storytelling is a major part of the deaf BSL culture. So this poem is basically a. I was interested in side backstories of songs. So there's a song called "Me and Honey" by REM, and I was interested in the backstory. You only get a kind of photo shot of a relationship. So I decided to write something in between, and it uses Role Shift by BSL, and it's a continuing story of Adam and Eve. If trust lies with the jaded, and it rests neatly in the folds of your arms when you look at me, and if we haven't woken up to the fact that the odds have stacked, well, still have the rest of our lives to sleep it off. Making up and breaking up so much the bed hurt, till you woke to find a hangover and an extra breath in your body. Now, how can we hope to build high rises in the foundations of a sodden promise scrawled on the back of a scrapped beer mat? And it looks like my handwriting. But I could never be that good to you. Its good intentions are worth anything when they can pay off the devil and sweet talk the Lord into letting us stay. When you look back at me, I can only see a paper sun that hasn't warmed you in months. But I remember that late summer, watching the sleepy wasp drowse across the carpet, as docile as puppies, scraping the stomach of our substances and tickling it with chocolate milk, talk like the back of a cigarette pack. Then you could see the sense of my stupidity, the stupidity of my divinity in the fall. You say the more words we use, the duller they become, and now your silence collects the dark. If we can only hope to be heard in the words we listen to, then all anyone can hope for is the rest of our lives be cradled in the heart of another. Thank you. Cheers, guys. Okay, continuing on with the signing. This was written just before lockdown. I think I did it at the open mic here before, but it kind of sounds like it could be about now, really. It's called "Do Something Beautiful While You Can." If we were told we only had minutes left, who would plant flowers? If we were told we are terminal, and we are all terminal, surely we should do something to make this world more beautiful. And I've seen Banksy's finest. I've seen flowers filling waste bins like vases. I've seen opening of Brandon Brawley's covered in poetry. I've seen graffiti on a Glaswegian side street that simply read, "You are beautiful," on the large letters on a blue background. Because maybe beauty is where it's seen by someone where it seldom belongs. It is in Ginsberg's blackened sunflower, growing despite all under the shadow of locomotives, when even Christ, Buddha, and Vishnu all say in their own way that the strength of life is love, and true love knows nothing less than being beautiful. So do something while you can, even if no one sees it, no one hears it in the beat of your voice before it's whipped away by winds and storms. And how can beauty ever be enough? To be able to put up with a world of fires, coups, and floods, the charcoal of life converted by art into something beautiful. I don't know how. It just does. If everything was equally beautiful, then it would all be equally plain or ugly. What is not just beauty is not just rare, it is also strong. It is not simply the orchid petal, but that petal growing on a flower, growing somewhere barely inhabitable. And the stronger it is, the more beautiful it may be. It's the rarity of a perfect emotion. It's the scarcity of being able to truly convert dust to diamonds. So please, if you can, when you can, do something to make this world more beautiful. You never know whose heart you'll help along the way. You never quite know where beauty goes. Thank you. Right. Yes, this next poem was written when I was in Manchester. It was published in an anthology called Best of Manchester Poetry, which caused a big fuss with the Mancunian poets, because everybody got a bit competitive. But yeah, I sent this one in, it got published. And interestingly enough, when I was ill, I was in hospital, I ripped the poem out of the book. There's some kind of poem in there somewhere. It's called Night's Mood Thinking. The sickest little thoughts only come out at night. Spend my mind spinning circles around the room. The TV, an ever-decreasing loop of repeated TV programs. The bed in the next wall whispers sweet nothings. Clock watching, the other way around. Lighting the blue touch paper of a boredom threaded through with dope. The strangest little revelations only come out at night. And for many, life is not a vocation. It's more a potting shed hobby. And across this imagined community, there are the same people in the same pubs and clubs, the same songs playing from the same jukeboxes and sound systems, the same songs crooning from the corners of the same bedrooms, the same families sharing the same TV scene. And in Manchester, the city is strangled by its own legacy. Buildings of now and then stand knock-kneed cheek by jowl while you're halfway up a glass tower building on your knees, working on a task that requires all the literacy skills of a 5-year-old. Clock watching. Time is taught as piano wire. Always 5 minutes since the clock last changed. Always 5 minutes since you had your last fag break. Thinking about how earlier it felt like you fell out of bed, landed slap bang, face first on your desk. And the streets are A to Z of 1,000 memories. But if you stick around long enough, the bitter ones get swallowed up by the sweet. But the days go past and the months tumble into each other and the years fly by, and before you know it, you're staring down the wrong end of your youth with no way back again. Still perpetually at 17, in mind, heart and soul, if not body, at breakfast wondering what Mr. Kellogg's did with your toy. I'm trying to find out where you are along in life. It's like staring at a giant map without a you or here. Nothing in your mind from all those years at school except that Pythagoras rhyme, Oxbow Lakes, and Venn diagrams. Following the clockwork lifeline timetable with all the wit and wisdom of night's mood thinking. A, to B, to C, to G. Always at the height of fashion, a season behind, because you shop at TK Maxx. With a record collection that stunted and stayed in the late 90s, and ducking questions about family at Christmas from the elderly relative who skipped the sherry and went straight on for the gin. And at the end of every daily odyssey, you find yourself in the same bed, with the same thoughts floating around the same head, thinking about how later the surreal picture show is about to start. And when gravity wraps itself around your body, and these words finally fade to black, your soul will rest neatly in a shoebox stored safely underneath your bed. Thank you. Cheers. Right. Yeah, I'll just take a quick break here to do a little plug. Might as well. Yeah, on Tuesday, my book, Bedlam's Best and Finest, is going to be streamed live by Accidental Theatre. So if you just look up Accidental Theatre Belfast, I'm really looking forward to it, and I thought it might be of interest to people. I can't claim to speak for all mental health people at all. It's far too complex for that, but I can tell my story and maybe people find a resonance. In the meantime, this one is dedicated to all the Northern Irish poets here tonight. There's quite a few, so I've switched the set slightly. This was from another book I had called After All Tomorrow's After Parties. It's available with knives, forks, and spoons. Who ended the Troubles? It was us, the chemical generation that saw an end to the Troubles. Fresh-eyed from the revelation, there was another world on which to raise our future children. Away from the machine gun rattle of flags and all those Semtex words. A flame without a fuse. Art and voice put to better use. So the bombmaker and the quartermaster, the fodder and the spies realized it was easier to smuggle in pills and bullets. So they sold the chemical generation of freedom back to them at a vastly inflated price. But it was never about them. It was only ever about us. All that cloth-minded symbolism closer to each other in thought, word, and deed than anyone who claims to lead us. There isn't a family that hasn't had its victim. There isn't a family that hasn't been touched. And yet we hope to struggle on, despite books of history housed in walls of gravestones. Because the Northern Irish, each and every one, knows the strength they fed on when it was peace lines and punishment beatings, protection rackets, snipers, and executions would be the same inner strength on which to build that other world. Thank you. Okay. Right. Yes, the next one is was taken from a Bell and Sebastian album title. It's called Write About Love. They say that love is the hardest trick to fall from a writer's pen, unless it's heartbreak. Heartbreak's easy. But a happy, dappled sunlight, leafy walk kind of love is near impossible, unless you want to sound like a sugar blanket 70s tune. And let's face it, you don't get many screaming Bobby Soxers at poetry gigs holding up a poster of Keats. Love is in the shared silences, not the words. But I've heard amazing love poetry vacuum wrapped around the minutiae of a moment, because that's where it hangs its homemade sign. Love is bespoke. Even though it lives in the pocket of fashion with whispers sweep everything's into his ear as it sleeps. And all those lyrics and all those love songs, text fodder, echoed on status updates, but more likely to remind you of a television ad for a car. That's so a life in bloom, or else sopping sentiment drenched in auto-tune. And there's some of us out there who can cut, paste, and copy words into something resembling meaning from a droplet stage or onto an unforgiving blank page. But without the props of repose, coffee, and maybe a cigarette, when love needs it most, we also can't find the words to say. That's why I think you hear more downbeat love poetry than any other kind. We're trying to get that fateful moment out of our mind. And I'd be more likely to answer some random equation from some deep vein astrophysics and fully tick list the complexities of the checkerboard heart. I can't save your life, any more than stop from making a royal hash of mine, but love deserves to be spoken of, and not only with a snarled tongue. It's the altogether too much that saves you from the altogether too much of everything else. It may be the commercial appropriation of personal sentiment, but it's unique and universal to each and every one of us. It's cheeseball and esoteric, an anthem and a tender letter never sent. Without it, life would only taste of one flavor, like a rustler's burger, and the cardboard it came from. Thank you. Cheers, guys. Yes, this next one I sent to Brian Cox. He never got back to me. Damn. I don't even know if he's seen it or not. But anyway, I like this one's kind of dedicated to Scott because I love space as well. So this poem is using the analogy of dark energy. There is something, Lambda said in a strangely hushed tone for once, that makes a life accelerate. Makes me think about those who count out the days, makes me feel sad. With that, she landed a double 15 with her dart and closed the game. Went over to the bar. Spent long enough talking to the barman to warrant me taking out my phone and rummaging around inside it for updates. On a return, a single beer in her hand, like a much scaled-down version of someone she used to be. I pointed at it, triumph rolling from my tongue, and said, "Not everything speeds up as before." She said, "What if acceleration is just a slowing down of something that is already contracting?" And with that, we started another game. Halfway through, on the other side of some prattle about him and her and where we thought they were going, just as the jukebox began to play a song I knew neither of us liked very much, I said, "It's about light." "What is?" she asked. "What were you on about earlier? It's a question of light." "Expand," she demanded. "Well, say all light takes a while to reach you, and by the time it does, everything has moved far away." I took a dramatic pause to throw a dart. "Then really it comes from nothing," and closed the game. Without a word, Lambda walked over to the jukebox, and while she flickered through the selection on the screen, she talked. "I think I know what you mean," she said. "It's the same as me, really. It's all an illusion. It's all dark energy, motivation, and expression. Life is a card trick designed to fool the holder into thinking there's a method to the house. But maybe the universe speeds up because there's nothing else it can do. The cards we are given are random. It's up to us to put them in their groups and do our best. If there is something dark and mysterious making a life speed up, it's up to us to do our utmost to keep up. It's at these moments when I love land the most." Just as she finished talking, and the song on the jukebox began to reach an ending, it imparted a lyric so apt that it begged her belief. and fate lent the final line. And she smiled at me and said, I think that screams for a shot or two, Cap. So I headed for the bar. Thank you. Okay, guys, brilliant. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, we'll I'll have my final poem now. Yes. This also uses sign language and was written not too long ago. It was kind of inspired by the nationwide adverts on TV and the rise of Kit Tempest and how poetry really has a kind of performance poetry. When I started doing it, my brother told me it was a dead art form, kind of half jokingly. But it's come on leaps and bounds in the last. I've been doing poetry now nearly 15 years, and it's come on leaps and bounds, you know. So this poem is about that, really. Uses sign language again. Poetry is not the truth. Poetry is not life and how to live it. Poetry, as they say, never saved anyone from the gas chamber. Poetry never made such a boast. Instead, it is a poet at their most lucid, folded into maddening verse, who's at the bottom of it all. They believe someone else is writing their words. Poetry is a realization that everything is depth charged, but there are people out there will tell you the surface is all there is. Warhol dancing in his diamond dust shoes, Pollock in his drip feed, stunted literature and clicoptic art, loss of depth perception. Easton Ellis firing his blanks, Palahniuk in his straitjacket, self and himself, McCarthy's bleak eyes sucking in all light. Poetry is a chameleon. Art of other art, it can lift itself from the page, it can screwdriver its way in. It marks birthdays, decorates weddings, but most of all, makes sense of grief, both personal and national. 2 days after the Manchester bomb, at the vigil, Tony Walsh, A.K. Longfellow, read a poem of the city, for the city, and all who'd come around. The world's media hanging off the podiums and statues to gain a better view. His poem, a list of what makes Manchester great. It consoled, it gave back pride. It showed the best of us in amongst all the horror caused. Poetry cannot bring anyone back from the dead, but it can help the heart to carry on. And for too long, poetry in schools was weighty and worthy and dead-eyed perfect. Now there are poets filling classrooms with self-expression, giving voice to adolescents so routinely silenced or kept from themselves. Poetry is a map of all the contours, valleys, outposts and peaks, the entire topography of all sentiment, all emotion, the rise and fall of expression as natural as breath. How long this media's fascination with poetry will last is uncertain. If in fact it actually lowers the bar rather than raises it is yet to be seen. But if poetry can show an answer, a glimmering answer, to show sincerity and power, then maybe not everything in this world is rotten fresh. Besides, maybe a poetry can show a message, a real message, the glimmering dug out of a poetic stanza that pushes this world on another saintly inch, reminds us all how wonderful this world can be. Thank you, guys. Cheers for that.
Wow.